welcome to Should I Buy This Game? Featuring Meadow the Adventure Book. My name is Christine, and in this video I'll give you an overview of how the book is played and then share a few things I may like or dislike about the game to help you decide if you want to add Meadow the Adventure Book to your collection. So before I show you the adventure book, I'm going to give you a brief overview of how Meadow is played. So here we have all our cards, and we start with the west, south, east cards. And after round 3, we change out the south cards and bring in the north cards. And what we're trying to do is use these cards to build a meadow down below here in my player area. So on your turn, you will take one of your little pointers, and this will decide which card you are getting. So if I was to put it here, I could get this card. If I was to put it here, this card. You get the idea. So I'm going to put it here, and I take the third card in, which is this card. So when you're placing your cards, you're looking at, these are the symbols you need in your hand to place your cards. So I just picked up this flower, and I needed 2 grass symbols. So down here I have a grass symbol and a grass symbol. So I can decide to play this card. I have to place it either here or here. But by doing so, I will be covering up the butterfly or a tree. Now I have a couple other trees already in my meadow, so I think it'd be okay if I covered a tree. So I would place it there like that. So now I have another flower in my meadow. I'll just show you another card I happen to have in my hand. This one needs 2 trees, and because I had a tree there and a tree here, I could place this card in another turn, and I would just place it on top of an area that has a tree. And this is how we are building up our meadows, and then these will be worth the points at the end of the game. Now there's also the surrounding areas. You get 1 little trail tile, and you have a token that needed a house, and I have a house in my meadow, and then it just needed the tile. And then you can put a baggage card on top of it. This one only needed to have a surrounding area down. So another thing you can do on your turn is to go over to the bonfire, and you'll see these symbols here. And if you have 2 of these symbols in your meadow, you can claim a spot. To do so, you would take one of your pointers and you would put it in a notch on the bonfire. Now I'm set up for a 2-player game, so 3 notches are available. However, if all those 3 notches get used, you can put one of your tiles here upside down, and you could still place a token here, and then this allows you to place a card in your meadow as your bonus action. Whereas these other ones, this 4 allows you to place 2 cards as your bonus action. This one allows me to get 2 more of those path tiles, which are these tiles here, that I can add to my player area so I can add more surrounding areas in future turns. Now I have the tree and berries in my meadow, so that's the spot I'm claiming. And so you would put your smallest number token you have available in that spot, meaning nobody else can claim that spot for bonus points. And that's basically how you play the game, is by using your little tokens to pick your cards. And when you have the spots available in the bonfire, then you can go there to claim some points. So now I'm going to be adding in the adventure book, and the adventure book takes over from the bonfire. We will no longer be using the bonfire, and we will be using the adventure book. So this here is the adventure book, and in this book there are 6 different adventures to go on. This is the beginning hike, and each of the adventures have little boxes that hold all the pieces you need for this particular adventure. So this one has to do with the sun and the rain, things you might come across on your hike. So the first thing that's different is over on our player board, we have added little sun tokens and this rain token. So now if you get a card in this column, you can move the rain token, which I'll show you in a moment. Or if you get a card in the row, you get to move your sun token. So you would play the same way with your token, And say if I was to put it here to get this card, well, this card intercepts both the sun and the rain. So what I would do is I'd come over here, find my token, and I can move it down one on the sun side and one on the rain side. Now, the goal is to continue to move them down. When you move it down again, if this is where you end up, you would gain a point. If this is where you end up, you would gain 2 points. But if you can get down here, you are now going to be able to get yourself a card. So these cards, this is the sun side, this is the rain side. They give you points, and some of them also give you a benefit. So if you play this card, you're also able to play another card. Whereas this one here, if you play this card, you'd be able to get the little cloud with the 2 landscapes there, and then that would act as landscapes that are in your meadow. So I will take this one here just to show you. It would be worth 3 points at the end. And I would have to wait for another turn, but when you play it, what you're doing is you're going to your surrounding area, and then you are placing it underneath the surrounding area, sort of like that. And now this surrounding area has sunshine. Now the other thing, like the bonfire, is you can take one of your tokens, put it here. In a 2-player game, you only have 3 tokens, but I just leave these in the book. Anyway, they're like a puzzle piece. You could take them off. Now, I have a berry and a tree in my meadow, so I could come here and put my token there to get the points and then do the action. When you get a card, you would just replace the card there as well for the next person. And the one thing with this hike is you now have 4 spots where you can put tokens. So they've added in a 5-point bonus token that you can use during this hike if you are able to fulfill all of them. And here it would be once you play the sun, if you have a paw, then you could go here as well. And with these hikes, they also give you some bonus stars based on how many areas you filled up and were you able to get both the sun and the rain card into your meadow. And then you would just add up your hike points as you go throughout the game. As well, they have the area that if it is filled, you could put a tile here so you could still claim a spot up above and then just play 1 card into your meadow. And that is hike number 1, the beginning. Hike number 2 is bridges. And in my opinion, this is one of the most challenging hikes. So down here in your player area, you have this piece with a river. And what you have to do is now get images on either side of the river. So for example, I have a butterfly here and the paw here. So they're on the correct side. So I'm able to flip this tile. That will gain me 4 points at the end of the game. Now I also have a frog here and a tree there. So I can flip this tile, which will gain me 1 point at the end of the game. Once you flip 2 tiles, you're able to come up here and get yourself a card. So maybe I would take this card. Now, on a future turn, because I have 2 of the leaves and I have a mushroom, I could play this card and it would be played here on top of that mushroom and we're 3 points later. But the other challenge of this game is that the bridge is you have this side with your meadow and surrounding area as well as the other side. And you're going to score each side individually, and whichever side has the least amount of points will be your points for the game. And so you're spending the whole game trying to even out both sides so you can get the most out of your points, but at the same time figuring out which images you need on either side of the board as well. And then when it comes here to where you could put your little markers, you need a bird on, say, the left side and then the howling wolf on the right side, or the wolf on the left and a mushroom on the right. And once you're able to get that, you can put your images here like you would before. You would bring your token over, put it here, and then place your token. However, these images don't come out until the second half of the game for the most part. You might find a wolf in the south, but they're mainly north deck cards. So it's not going to be until rounds 4, 5, 6 that some of these cards will start appearing. And so between the managing of the sides, in my opinion, bridges tends to be the most difficult hike in the book. Hike number 3 is windmills. And what's cool about this is the little windmills are actually magnetic. And you start with it at 0, and then each of the blades has a special action that we'll be able to do, which I will show you shortly. The other thing is there's a trail along the bottom. It has a start tile, a finish tile, and 2 in between. And you're hiking along, and you have to, each time you put this image down within the trail area, you will move your hiker. So for example, I can put down this frog. I get to move my hiker along one, and I get to move one on the windmill. And the more you move, you're going to get points. Now, maybe my next move isn't, I don't have a bird in my hand, so I'm going to put the larva down, which means I'm going to be skipping ahead to 2 areas. I do not get points for that, but I get 1 more point for putting my larva down. Now, the other thing is once I cross over this pathway, this is when I get the bonus from the cards. So there's a few different bonuses, but this one here especially gives you the bonus to take one of these specialty cards and put it in your hand. So I can turn over that blade, and maybe I will take this one because it's worth the most points and it's early in the game that I should still be able to get it placed into my meadow or surrounding area. So as I'm looking now, I'm trying to get a paw. So I have a paw card that I could get if I place a beetle. So maybe I will place the beetle on my next turn. I do not move any further, but then I could place the paw on my following turn. I can move here and then get another point. Now you can go back and place cards on these ones, but you don't move forward. To move forward, you have to have these images in this zone. However, if you make your way over here and you place, say, this image, you would jump all the way ahead. Or if you didn't place those or the thing, you jump ahead, but you only get to move your windmill for every spot that you get to place a card within the zone when you're in the zone. So it makes the game a little more complex, but then you will get points here, depending how high up you go. So later on, right now it's a point for a point, but then starting at 9, if you get 9, you now get 10 points. 10 gets you 12 points. And if you happen to get all 14, you get 22 points. And that is how Windmills is played. Hike number 4 is balloons, and this one has this compass here. And so what you need to do is you need to get the tree and the bird, and then you'd be able to get balloon A, which is this balloon here. And when you turn it over, it is worth points. Then you can see here you would need the tree and the mushroom for B, or the mushroom and the berry for C. So it works around like that. This little diagram here shows you where everything is. The other important thing is moving up the little flags here. If you are using the 2 down here in your notch, then you get to move up 2 spots. If you were to use a 3 or a 4, you would move up 1 spot. If you use the 1 at this point, you would not be able to move up the track at all. Then what happens is whoever is the highest, it gives you a direction to turn. So in this case, we would turn the dial this way. So now you have different little matches you need to get for your balloons. And now if you have the 4, you get to move up 2, a 1 or 2 is 1, and a 3 is nothing. But you don't gain these rewards until you do a stopover. So you move up this track until you decide, I want to stop and move over to the next track. At that point, you would receive any rewards that they show here, such as the road or an E card or a West card. You would gain that and you would move back down here. Then as you make your way up, if you're able to get here, you would put like your number 2. If you were able to get all the way up here, then your number 3 comes in. And if you are able to get all the way to the top, which in my opinion is very difficult, you would get to put your number 4 out. And so that is how this works. And so depending where we are, we're rotating this one spot over, and different images will appear. And as I said, the images are here to give you some idea of what might be coming next in terms of matches. So you have to sort of figure out at what point do your matches match up so you can turn over those hot air balloons. And then at what point on the track do you want to stop in terms of getting bonuses so you can move over here to try to get end of game points. So hike 5 is the observation tower. Now the first thing we need to do during hike 5 is at the beginning of each round, you're going to pick one of your pointers and trade it out for the special binocular pointer. And now you have this one to use during the game. Now you can use it like you would the pointer here, but instead of playing a card, you would be able to do a binocular movement, which I will be showing you. So starting with round 2, you have these little tokens, observation towers, and what you have to do is you look at your meadow and decide where you're going to place it. So maybe I will place it here. Once I place the observation tower, then I will not be able to place another one in future rounds here again. I currently have 2 cards in this tower, so that means my player would move to level 2. So whenever I take a binocular action, I can do it from here down. So maybe I will use my action. I put it there, so I get 2 binocular actions because I placed it here. Maybe for the first one, I'm going to take one of the special cards. And this card's worth 4 points, and I already have those items in my hand, so maybe I will take that. Of course, at round 1, you won't have a full meadow built up because it's early in the game or after round 2. I'm just showing you this for the example of how it's played. And then for my second action, I do have the paw and the mushroom. I could put the token here. Now, I could have also played 2 cards, got 2 roads, pick 3 cards and choose one, or pick one off the board, or I could have got this token, which would have gotten me a point. So say in a future round, I move, it's a new round, and I'm going to put it here. I have 3 cards. So if I was to move here, I would have the option of getting one of these symbols. So if I took this symbol, not only is it worth 3 points, but I now have a bird in my meadow. So I'd be able to use that image when I'm collecting cards and building up my meadow. And then I would have the option again of I could put an image here, or I could take a new card. Once you take one, it gets refilled. And I could take a new card or do any of these things below me. And then as you get higher meadows, as the rounds go on, then you're able to get 2 of the cards. You can put your number 4 token there. Or if you make it up here, you can get a number 5 point token with 2 images on it for you to use in your meadow. And that is basically how the observation tower works. Hike number 6 is the caves. Now to start with, there is a lot of cards that would get dealt into the specific decks. And these are the cave cards, and they have a little bat symbol on them. And these are super pretty. Look how beautiful the art is. But you will notice on some of the cards there are triangles. It's a new symbol introduced into the game with these cards. And so what you need to do is you are trying to collect one of each of these tokens. There's 5 different tokens, and you can only have one of each pattern. So if you had a bird and a flower, you would put your little player thing there, and you would get this token and add it to your area, but it would allow you to move through the cave. And depending which way you go, depends on your bonus. So this one allows you to get a north card into your hand, or you can get an east card and play a card. So you make a choice of which way you want to go. If you get here, you end up with 3 points. If you come here, you're able to get one of these bat cards and add it to your hand. But then the interesting thing is this area. This is where you can put your little tokens, but it's all based on how many of these bat cards you have played into your meadow. So if you have 4 bat cards, you can only put your 2-pointer there. 5 to 6 gives you 3 points, and you have 7 or more bat cards in your meadow. By the time you reach here, you can put your little 4, and so that's these little tokens. So you'd put your token down, and then you decide on your 6th move, do you want to go where you would earn 6 points, or do you want to get another north card from the deck and play a card? So you have to decide at this point which is more beneficial to your game. And as I said, you can only have one of each of these, depending how many players there's playing. That's how many of each token you'd have. And so you have to see if I got this one, which means the next person, if they want this token, now has to have this combination. So if you see some of your opponents are going for the same thing as you, it's how quick can you get the token before them, because then they have to change their plans to go a different route. And that's basically how the caves is played. Now you can also play Meadow solo, and you can play it with and without the adventure book. So what you do is you take this little piece here, and then you take the tokens of the colors that you are not using. You place all the little pointer tokens, again, of all of these 3 colors. And then on the solo player's turn, you turn it over. So we have purple. So therefore, we are placing it on this side of the board. You can just place it here. It's a 1, so we would remove this card from the game. Now, we do not build up a meadow for the solo player. We're collecting cards, and at the end, they will score points based on the numbers that they have of their cards. Now, if you get a token like this with the question mark, you're going to be using this token in either the bonfire or the adventure book. So if you're using the adventure book, in the rule guide, they have how to play solo for all 6 of the hikes, what you would do with the solo player, and then how it is scored. So overall, if you enjoy playing the game Meadow, then I 100% think you will love having the adventure book. By getting all these different things to change up the bonfire, there are so many different challenges to it, especially like the bridges where you're having to separate your meadow into 2 halves. The windmills where you've got your little path along the bottom, trying to put cards in a certain way. It just gives you a lot more options and different challenges to the base game of Meadow. In terms of things I disliked, I couldn't really think of anything. If you want an easier game, there's some easier ones like the weather one. If you want a more challenging game, then play like bridges. And then the cave is a lot of fun as well. The components are really nicely made. It's a nice thick book. I like the magnet. This is magnetized as well. So I like having the little magnet pieces in the book. And it's just really fun addition to the base game of Meadow. So let me know if you have played Meadow or if you've been able to get the adventure book and what you think of the game.